Zone. I'm your host, Joe Piantedosi Jr. Today is Wednesday, September 26, 2012. It is Yom Kippur, so happy holidays to all our Jewish friends out there. Of course, there are many in Malden. Malden used to be predominantly Jewish when I remember visiting my grandparents and even talking to some Maldonians like Arthur Khan, who has told me the whole history of Malden and how it was much more heavily um, inhabited, I guess is the term, by Jewish people. And of course, over the years, it's become very multicultural. But we still have a lot of great Jewish people here in the community of Malden. So we wish you all a very happy and sacred and holy holiday. And it's been, I guess it culminates today. It starts with Rosh Hashanah the week before. But I know today, I was telling people earlier today, I didn't realize the amount of people that I know that are Jewish that don't work today. And from last night on, and I would make phone calls to try to reach various people and say, oh, they're not working today, or they're celebrating the holiday. But anyway, happy holiday to everybody. Nice day today. Weather was warm, muggy, almost summer-like, even though we're into fall. Hate to see summer go, and summer is now officially over. It happened Saturday, which was the 22nd, and now we're into fall. You can feel it in the air, even though it's a hot, humid day today. It gets darker much earlier. The sun is blinding, and as the drive home, and I always remember that as being part of fall. And just you feel it in the air, you sense it. It really comes after Labor Day, it feels like. Right after Labor Day, it just feels like, unfortunately, though the calendar doesn't say summer's over, it feels like summer's over. So we are going to have some great weather coming up, I know that. It's still much too early for frost or extreme cold or snow or anything. Though they're saying possibly rain this weekend. What's going on? Tonight actually is the last home game of the 2012 Red Sox. Many viewers would probably say it's good that it's the last game. It's not been a good season. They have, I think, about 5 more games after tonight, but this is the last home game. And I think they lost last night, and I think they lost 86 games so far. They could hit 90 losses if it wouldn't be that difficult to have happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens the off season if the manager Bobby Valentine is terminated. Heavy speculation that will happen. He's denied it. The upper brass has really made no comment that it would happen. My money would be on the fact that he would be released probably the day after. Maybe wait till after the World Series, but I don't even think they'd do that. I think once the Red Sox season is over, his career with the Red Sox will be over. We'll soon tell. Anyway, what else is going on? The big controversy with the NFL. As you know, the refs have a contract dispute, so they brought in some replacement refs, as they're called, and they really don't know the game that well. They've been making a lot of poor calls. Of course, we got affected on Sunday with the Pats and the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of bad calls. The game was prolonged because of the bad calls. We probably lost the game. The last 2 games we lost. The Patriots have not been having a losing season in 9 years, I think it was. And they're 2-0, which is unheard of for the Patriots. A lot of it is probably due to poor calls. Though that last kick, if you saw it, the field goal kick, which won the game for Baltimore, closer review, it was good, but I mean it was just too many calls leading up to that really turned the game against the Patriots, unfortunately, and it was with both games, I think. And then of course the big talk is the Monday night game with Green Bay, and Green Bay lost, and that was it really was a win, and they ended up losing with the Hail Mary pass, and very poor call. And one ref called the pass complete, the other one called it a touchdown. One called it incomplete, one called it a touchdown, and the touchdown took place, and Green Bay lost, and they shouldn't have lost. But anyway, people are up at arms, so interesting to see what's going to play out over the next few weeks, and see if the NFL is going to, and I guess the commissioner is going to deal with these refs and just settle the dispute. If not, it's really going to hurt the game and could hurt attendance and even sponsorships and everything. So that's that. Of course, the NHL, it looks like we're probably not going to have a hockey season this year, at least not to start with. So that's also unfortunate. And related to business is really unfortunate because there's so many businesses that rely on hockey or just any event at, say, the Boston Garden and or other arenas and stadiums throughout the country. I've talked to many restaurant and bar owners nearby, and they're devastated because they've been waiting all season for the Bruins and the Celtics to play, and of course, if they don't have Bruins, it's just Celtics. And of course, last year the Celtics missed the whole winter; they didn't start until January, so that hurt them last year. And the economy is as strong as it is, so this is not a good thing. And plus, who doesn't want to watch sports? So maybe several wives might not want to watch. No, not to be chauvinistic or anything. Maybe a lot of people don't like sports, but I think some people will be grateful that they don't have to compete against a game at night. But I think for the most part, everyone wants to see teams play, especially home teams play. We have the Celtics, so let's hope they have a good season. They'll be starting up in about a month. Some new faces, some old faces. Of course, we don't have Ray Allen, which is going to be a major loss, but we'll gear up for a good basketball season. Also, heavily into the political scene here. The general election day is less than 6 weeks away. It was 6 weeks yesterday, so it's about 41 days away. And the polls are all over the place. I mean, I've seen polls where President Obama is trouncing Romney. I've seen polls where Romney is squeaking by Obama. So it's going to be very interesting to play out. The debates, I guess the first debate is next week, a week from tomorrow, I believe it is. It'll be really interesting to see how they both do on the debates. Both are very intelligent, very articulate. Both have complete different messages. And they both want to take the country in a different direction. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. And I'm a political junkie, so I'm excited to watch it all, but nervously awaiting the results. And then there are many races here in this state. The biggest is Scott Brown and Professor Warren. And again, I've seen the same type of polls. Brown's up by double digits. She's up by double digits. They're both even. It's a crapshoot, I guess. They had one debate last week. I guess there's several more to come. And again, that's going to be really interesting to see play out. And there are other races, as you know. Our own former state senator Richard Tassay is running against John Tierney, and he's favored to win. It would be nice to see Richard win. Richard Tassay was so good to the city of Malden. He represented us as a state rep for many years, and then state senator, frequent guest on my show. Just an all-around good guy, and did a good job. And unfortunately left the state senate to run for lieutenant governor and Charlie Baker. They lost. Of course, he's always had his real estate business, which he still has. But it would be great to see him as a U.S. congressman, and I think he'd do a great job for all of us here in the state. Be the first Republican would have in a long time representing us in Congress. Interesting to play out. And then there's many others. There's Kennedy, Joe Kennedy III, running in the old Bonnie Frank seat against Sean Billet, I guess, former military guy, I guess, and gave Bonnie Frank a run for his money last election that Barney ran against him. And of course, Kennedy, young kid, 31, 32, no political experience, does have a good education, a law degree, from all accounts, a nice kid, pleasant, bright, but is he experienced enough? But he has the Kennedy name and a lot of money. Last count, I think he had about $3 million in his war chest, which is unheard of for a congressman running. So Sean is at a deficit by large margins. And there's so many other races. So it's going to be very fascinating to see. And November 6th is Election Day. And please go out and vote. Everyone should vote. It's your duty, your right to vote. A reminder to check your local place to vote and make sure that you're registered. I mean, so many people forget, or they think they are. They may have moved. They may think they are registered and they're not. So just make sure you're registered. There's cutoff dates depending on the city or town you're in. I don't know if it's by state or whatever, but just find out. I think it's by state, but just find out when you can register and when is the cutoff for it. So you'll have the right to vote. And there's some key issues on the ballot as well. So we'll talk more about that. We have another 6 weeks. You'll see me a couple times before then. I could babble on forever, but tonight we have a great guy. Talk about an asset to the city of Malden. We have Ted Coates on, and Ted is the executive director of the Malden Chamber of Commerce. And Ted, great to have you on board.
Good to be here.
You're doing great. I feel bad because I was very involved with the chamber, and I stepped back a few years before Ted came on board. And Ted has really revitalized the Chamber of Commerce and really
your fingerprints are still all over the office. So
I'll have to come and clean them up. But
so I see it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's very good to be here. Before I forget, the one thing I did want to mention is that the Chamber now has a TV show where we highlight one of our members. We've done 2 so far. We're getting better at it.
Excellent.
Each one takes a little less time to pull together, but we actually go out to the members' site. We take a video there, and then we have part in the studio. We've profiled Dockside Restaurant with Jack Urbaszewski, who is just a great guy. He and his daughter Lisa run 2 restaurants in Malden. Jack is now the vice president of the chamber, and we believe that he will become president of the chamber next year. And then
they have many restaurants other than the 2 in Malden. They have
one in Wakefield, one in Chelsea, and I believe when I talked to Jack, he has owned 15 or 16 restaurants in the last 20-some years. One in the name Dockside comes from a restaurant in Boston that he bought. And so
I used to go. It was a great bar, and I used to go there quite a bit when I was a younger man.
Yes. Well, the other thing about Dockside that everybody knows is how much they do for the community.
Yes.
I mean, it is 2 or 3 nights a week they have the Dining for Dollars, where they're basically part of the tab that night. A percentage of the tab goes to some cause. It may be somebody who's has a sick relative or something like that. I mean, it's just one good thing after another, and they're really wonderful. They do it all the time. They have raised in their time doing this, and I can't remember how many years, but it's just under $1 million, $900,000 over the years doing this. So that has gone back into the community to families within our community. So they're great. And the other organization we've highlighted also does a lot for the community is Housing Families, which this is their 25th year in business. And the great thing, not that I want to plug my show, but I do, but you learn a lot about, I learned a lot about Dockside that I didn't know doing the show, and I learned a great deal about Housing Families. I mean, they run, it's not only the families, they have a whole program for kids, because geez, the kid, if you don't have the kids taken care of, it's the whole family. They do a little after-school program, a little education program. They have tutors who come in there, and it's soup to nuts what they do. And they run, I can't remember the number of housing units they run, but it's I think over 100. And it's again
just in Malden, or
no? This is the great thing about these Malden organizations. We have organizations like Housing Families, Bread of Life, Immigrant Learning Centers that are regional, and they're nationally known. I mean, they've gotten awards. Housing Families, I think it covers the surrounding communities, and I don't want to. It's probably Everett, Medford, all that, and they do a tremendous amount. They have vans. They transport kids and families. So it's a pretty amazing operation. You wouldn't know it. They have an office on it's not Ferry Street. I can't remember. They have an office here. It's here in Malden. So,
Now, the show's on MATV, I'm
it's
sure.
on MATV. I think it's on Friday nights, but our next profile should be L&L Services, which again, great company, does a lot. I mean, it's again, you meet Louis and you don't realize how big the company is.
So but Friday night, every Friday, and what time is it?
You know what?
Okay, we don't.
I don't. I'd have to look at the schedule, but I think it is every Friday. But,
Okay, check your local listing.
Check your local listing.
Now, is it a half-hour show or hour show?
It's a half-hour show.
And you do it on location, which is great.
We do, and it's proven. It's, as I said, it's educated me, and there's a lot of good stuff going on.
What's the name of?
It's called Chamber Showcase. So
one thing, a little sidebar about Ted and your comedic skills and your acting is great. I had the good fortune of watching many videos and ads you've done, and it's so funny because Ted seems so professional, conservative, and businesslike and quiet, mild-mannered, but you're hysterical. I mean, some of those things.
That's never me. That's my cousin.
That's
my cousin. He's,
yeah.
But we just, speaking of which, that's a great segue.
Yes.
We did one for the farmers market.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which unfortunately the farmers market is over.
Yeah.
But and I did it with our chamber president, Linda Kane from Stoneham Savings.
Sure.
And she and I dressed up. This is once again Ron Cox, gave us all the stuff. As you remember the American Gothic?
Yeah,
the guy
with the pitchfork,
and
sure.
the woman, and we're sort of standing there
that's
saying,
hysterical.
I'm so excited about the farmers market.
That is hysterical. Wow.
Yeah, so that's on our chamber website.
I'll have to check it out.
And anyway, speaking of the farmers market,
let's
we
talk
were
about that.
really pleased to have Piantedosi was there. Rain, shine,
Yep. Wind,
heat,
wind gusts, I heard.
He came to one. I said, "You sure you want to
Yeah.
put up your tent?"
Yeah.
We got a good, tough tent.
Yeah.
It was like,
That one got damaged that day, I heard. But
But I'm really glad that the chamber got involved with the farmers market because sometimes you need a sort of organize. We had a lot of people, a lot of volunteers involved, but sometimes you need an organizing entity. We were already in City Hall. I had an agenda of my own. I wanted the farmers market there at City Hall Plaza because one of our big things is bringing people to the downtown to help the merchants in Malden Center and downtown Malden. And I think the farmers market helped do that. We had music there. We on the good days we had lots of vendors. On the bad weather days, again, Piantedosi was you got 100% attendance, and there was only one other. The Wenger Farms got 100%, but you were your guys were there, rain or shine. And you know what? Every time I talked to them after the market, I said, "How was it?" "Oh, worst day we've had." And somebody said that's sort of the standard. You always, "Oh, terrible day, terrible day." But there are a couple days they nearly sold out, so I think they had pretty good days. But
no, it's fun, and the interesting thing is we do several farmers markets. Yours ended the earliest actually today. Everett had one. People did Everett. It wasn't a good day today at the Everett Farmers Market. The interesting thing is, again, kudos to you. No other chamber takes it. Usually there's a separate group, separate person, and it's a lot of work. I was talking to the Winchester.
I don't know if I deserve kudos or how
or some
bright
medication
that was.
maybe.
Yeah. But I'm glad we did it, and I've kind of made it clear that the chamber can't do it now. I mean, but I think that's right. We had lots of organizations. What I liked about it is we had a group. We had Triangle. TriCap was very much involved. They in setting up so we could take EBT cards. We had Inner City Home Care. We had Linda Kane was there almost every day from Stoneham Savings. She's the president of the chamber. But they were down there volunteering. Paul Solano from Hallmark Health. I mean, it just, we had all these organizations jump in and help out. And so what it really says is what a good volunteer stock we have in this town. And you know, I'm going to obviously help next year. I think we've kind of covered a lot of the hurdles. I mean, I don't think it will be there won't be the learning curve next year. So, you know, I'm going to help whoever is running it. We would like to keep it downtown, or, you know, either in the City Hall area to help promote getting people downtown. And we hope, you know, the residents of Malden were really good, but I got to say, if you want a farmer's market in your town, you've got to patronize it. Because I will say the farms all felt, every single one of them was very positive about it, and I think they did really well. One of them said to me, we started in 6 farmers markets, and we're only in 2 now. This is one of them.
Wow.
So I felt very good about that.
How many stands did you have?
Well, at one point, our largest market, I think we had 12 or 13 stands. It partially because it's new and it's a growing market. Some of the vendors, we had a lot of vendors come and try it a couple times and then not come back. We had, and there were, you know, markets have different flavors depending on where you go. Some they have higher end goods, and we had 2 fish vendors who tried it for 2 or 3 markets each, and then decided it really didn't work for them because by definition the fish is more expensive. I mean, people come and they spend a few bucks, but the people who did buy the fish loved it. I mean, we'd get we had a Facebook page, and we got a lot of good feedback. We had a meat vendor who came just once. Now, they came from the western side of the state, and that's tough at farmers market. They have to get a lot of permits, and they have to do various things. But you have to have a client. You know, you've got to be there long enough so people come every week and say, I want that.
So in addition, so you had fish, a couple times beef, obviously produce and vegetables and all that, and bread. But what other any?
We had crafts. We'd hoped to get a cheese vendor, but we tried several cheese vendors, and the one problem we had is we started in January, and to be honest, right now is when you start planning for the next year's market. So there are a few cheese vendors, but they were kind of tied up. So I think we've established the market, we've shown that it's viable, and we will, you know, I even, just being at the market, would see the same people back every week.
Which is nice.
Yeah, so we've got, I think, a clientele. One of the things we did talk about is it is nice to go a little further into the fall.
Yes.
We may even start a little later and go into the fall, because then you get the fruits and pumpkins and all that great stuff. So that's I think that's really a positive thing, and I think it will be good for the city. The nice days when there were people there and music, it just felt wonderful. I mean, people were just down there just sitting and enjoying it. And you know, and I think I said this before, but City Hall Plaza has this great little park next to it. Nobody uses it.
No one knows about it. It's almost like tucked away.
Yeah, so there were people who'd come through and go, oh, I didn't know this was here. And Mike's Landscaping did a great job. They cleaned it all up. I mean, it really did not look good a year ago. And this year, it's beautiful, planted, and the benches are nice.
That's funny. I'm not that I'm an expert, believe me, with markets. I mean, what we started doing now, this is our 3rd year of doing markets. And it's interesting. And, you know, I was a little bit reluctant first because we have, what is it, a half mile away is our actual store, our company, where people can go in and shop. Have the same thing in Winchester. And interesting enough, though, what I'm finding is a lot of farmers market people just do farmers markets, and we said we did 5 this year, and we had a lot of the same people. People go from town to town, and it seems like if you're a city or town that doesn't have a farmers market, it's a rarity, because most every city or town now has one. Different days of the week, different hours, but sometimes I think it's just a different breed. And what I'm finding is sometimes they just go to the farmers market. They don't shop in the other areas. So we picked up some business that people that wouldn't come down to our plant and buy anything, but they were willing to go to the farmer's market.
I got a question. Some of the, I mean, I saw this with the crafters all the time, where somebody would come and look at their stuff, and they'd give them their card, and you know, they might come back to their. They saw it as a way to get people to come back to their shop.
Sure,
Now,
exactly.
did you guys do that?
I don't know if we did it so much here because I think, well, but we would say that. Like
Yeah.
in Winchester, for example, I'll use the Winchester, not this one, but Winchester, we only brought a few items. And we would tell people, you know, we have a larger variety if you go to our shop, which is right around the block. What we found here is that people wanted things we didn't have in Malden at the bakery.
Okay,
They
yeah.
wanted, so matter of fact, I got a few calls from Debbie Burke. People, we first thought we wouldn't bring upscale. Farmers markets seem to be different in every community.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
people want to go in and pay high end because they're
Yeah.
getting fresher and,
Yeah.
and better
Yeah.
quality products. Some people look at them as saving money.
Saving,
So you have to have the blend and find out what the market attracts.
yeah.
And,
that's
what we try to
kind of
juggle.
what we were doing this year. I think we had a lot of people looking for well, we had a little bit of both.
Right.
And you know, people ask me, did I have any metrics on the market? And no, because I didn't really know how to measure things. And you know, I would talk to all the vendors toward the end of the day, and how was today, and what, and you know, there were some trends that you could see, but there were. I mean, I like to think, and I think this happened, that the market grew over time. That they'd start getting some regulars, and then each time we'd get a few new people.
Right.
And but as far as you know, what you're saying about whether they want to spend a lot or are looking for bargains, to be honest, we had a little bit of both
Exactly,
at the
I
market,
found that.
and I think people, once they learned that, they came back.
We were doing special orders, if you will. Sometimes someone would come and say, oh, do you have this? Oh, no, but we do make it. We don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you come back next week, I'll have it for you.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that, which was nice. And then they'd come back and talk about getting regulars. And someone wanted a rye loaf or something that we normally wouldn't bring to a market, but we knew Mrs. Jones was going to come back. And
well, you know, that's something I kept saying to the vendors. For instance, the fish vendors, I'd have them come. One person came, and then they skipped a week, and I said, you know, we had people asking for you last week, and they may not come back this week because they're like, well, are they going to be there? And they, you know, I don't.
Well, you mentioned the attendance. I mean, to me, there was no. Of course, I personally didn't do a lot of the markets, though I did a few, and I still will do some this fall myself. My people didn't have a choice. I mean, and they would call me up saying, "What do you think?" And well, you know, because it's advertised ready to shine.
Yeah.
And I go there, take less product. If you fear for the safety, you know, then don't be there. But if it's lightning or something, but
we did have amazing weather on market days. I mean, one day just hail and everything, and then another. I have never seen such strong winds come through. It was also really hot that day. It was like the Sahara. You know, you thought a dust storm was going to come through.
Funny.
So
now there's another market, but it has no affiliation with your market. It's happening.
Judy Bucci is running a market at Linden Square, and I know it's on Saturday.
3 consecutive. We're not doing it, but I heard it's 3 consecutive.
Yes.
Last Saturday.
And I
There's 2 more.
Started these 3 Saturdays, and they did it last year. She put it together pretty much on her own. So I wish I knew more about I think it's pretty much all day, and I'm sure if you contact her, she's city councilor.
City councilor,
and she has
Judy
so she's done a great job pulling that together, and some of our vendors have gone to that, and that's a nice thing, because some people, we were trying to catch a lot of people commuting who are coming through Malden. This is, you know, residents can come and go to that, and they do have parking over there.
We do the Beverly Market,
Okay.
and it's right at the train station.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the train, people get off the train and you get this like surge of people,
Yeah.
and they buy.
Yeah.
And then there's a lull, and all of a sudden you hear the whistle, you hear the
Yeah.
train. It's
then
kind
they
of
come-
comical. They
yeah,
all come
yeah.
out, and then they disappear, and then
Yeah.
you wait for the next train.
Well,
so.
we worked very hard to get those people surging out of the trains. We had these great interns who went over, and we had flyers.
Oh, great.
And we had a flyer that said, if you bring this to the market, you get a free shopping bag. We had these great Patch.com
Yep,
provided these great shopping bags. And what was striking to me, it's talk about changing somebody's habits. All they had to do was take a little detour that was maybe 60 yards out of their way, but we got very few of those flyers
Yeah.
back. We got a few people who came up and went, "Oh, this is nice," but it's work.
Winchester is the same. It's so funny, and I speak to Richard Howard, who's
Yeah.
our town manager,
Yeah.
about it. It's very similar towns, and in the 50s, they decided to raise the train,
Uh-huh.
and they built the
Yeah.
Berlin Wall, and it divided the town.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
market, if you've ever been to the one in
Yeah.
Winch on Saturdays,
Mhm.
and people seldom go around that corner. And a
Mhm.
lot of the townspeople are upset because this influx of people come to the market and they don't come to the downtown. And then the
Yeah.
train station is right there, but people are so used to just going on their merry way, they don't even stop.
Well,
so.
that's one reason I sort of got involved as the chamber, because I wanted to make sure that the chamber enhanced the downtown instead of
Take it away
drawing
from
people away
exactly.
from it. But
Well, that's
yeah.
hopeful. So next
Yeah.
year, we'll give you more
Yeah.
information as we come closer
yeah,
into next
so-
year.
And yeah, if anyone's interested in volunteering, they should contact the chamber office, and we're going to be having some meetings, some planning meetings.
781-322-4500.
Very good, very good.
That's embedded in my brain.
Okay. Well, Joe, the other thing I wanted to just talk about is our upcoming comedy night, which is at the Malden Moose on October 11th.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. It's the doors open at 5:30. The show starts at 6:30. We have some great comedians. If you go to our website, you can get some more information on that.
Location is
At the
Mo-
Malden Moose,
The Moose.
out on 99,
Sure.
and it really, we think it's going to be a great evening. Tickets are only $25, and for that, there's going to be plenty of food. So you get the show and food.
food included. So for
Yeah,
that
food is included. It's a cash bar,
bar.
but Henry tells us no one will leave hungry.
Wow.
So yeah, it ought to be a fun evening. We just really wanted, we do a lot of serious things in the chamber, and this is a little bit of fun.
Now, what
So,
comedians have you lined up?
we have, I'm going to just look at my list here. Dave Russo.
Dave Russo, good
Yes,
friend,
is
a
the
good-
host of NESN's
Dirty Water.
Dirty Water.
Mhm.
And Tony V has been on
Great
Conan
guy,
O'Brien. Paul Gilligan is also Dirty Water TV.
Malden resident,
Yeah,
actually. Paul,
okay,
Paul's
good,
from Malden.
yep.
That's his Dave. Dave grew up in Malden, and Paul did, by the way.
Well, I believe I've seen Dave, and it is amazing. These people who, obviously Malden has a lot
Yeah.
of material.
Dave,
here
let me
that
tell you,
they-
something. Dave has
yeah.
been a frequent guest of my show.
Yeah.
Dave, I've known Dave since he was a little kid, actually. Great guy. Does a great Robert De Niro impersonation.
Okay, I have seen
And
that. Just the face. I
yeah,
mean, he
exactly,
totally
yeah.
transforms.
Yeah.
That
and he's
yeah.
very funny, and he actually opened for Wayne Newton in Vegas.
really.
He's done a lot of TV. He was living out in Vegas for
Yeah.
a while. He's
Well, yeah, I saw him on the on Ron Cox's show,
Yeah.
and yeah, he does that thing of
Yeah.
Robert De Niro,
Yeah.
and it's kind of scary.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's,
so, yeah. Then we got Anthony Scabelli and Sal Votano.
a lot of Italians, huh?
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
lots of material there.
Yeah, excellent.
But yeah, and it should be just a great fun night.
Beautiful.
So you can come anywhere from 5:30 to 6:30, even after 6:30. But the show will start at 6:30. We also have people. We're going to have a program book, and we'd love people to buy ads. And I just, this is one way. The chamber and I have to tell some people this, because we rent spaces in City Hall, people sometimes think we're part of the government. We don't get any money from the government. We are, the chamber survives and makes its revenue through members' dues, and we do charge for events. So so I would just ask residents of Malden to come out and support the chamber. We'd love to have you there.
And $25 is very reasonable. I mean, to see a comedy show and get food, and it's a great night. So, nice way to kick off the weekend. It's the Thursday after Columbus Day weekend.
Exactly.
So it's a great
so it should be a great time and very good food.
And $25, but a table of 10 is
$225.
So a little savings there.
So
grab some friends, neighbors, family members.
And give us a call at, what was that number again?
781-322-4500.
So
now, is this 18 or over, 20? I mean, probably a little more.
When we first were setting this up, Jack Urbaszewski and Tony Bartolo were doing it. I said, well, should we have a children's ticket rate? And they said, no, Ted, no. Shows how much I know. But they said, no, this is more of an adult evening.
I've heard many of these guys perform, and they can get a little risque.
I'm sure it's all going to be in good taste.
It will be.
But
well, that's a fun night.
Yeah.
So we've got that. Now, what else do you have in store?
Well, we've got, we have been involved in a lot of things. And, I was talking to you earlier, and one thing I just did want to say, lately everybody's heard about the shootings in Malden. And, unfortunately, the bad news gets bigger press than if nothing happens, that's not news.
Right.
And I'm not originally from Malden, but I think sometimes that's good because it gives me a perspective on things. And what I've really been impressed by is how so many people of goodwill have really taken an interest, have jumped in, and are trying to address this problem. I mean, the mayor has been right on top of it. The city council has been doing it. Earlier this week, I went to what was called a peace forum sponsored by the Malden Rotary. Councilor D'Arcangelo brought together leaders within the community, and again, I was just really impressed. People, we're not going to solve it overnight. Nobody has the answer, but people are really trying to figure out how we can address this. The other thing that was striking that I learned, I've gotten some information. First off, and this is from Chief Holland, the police chief, the good news, if there is good news about these shootings, is that these were the suspects and the victims were known to each other. And what that means is that you and I aren't really in danger of a random shooting.
Random, exactly.
And, it's not good, but it's better than...
Makes you think the streets are safer than, I mean, it's...
Exactly.
When you hear about, shooting, you think, oh my God, lock the doors and windows. But
and the other thing is, at this forum I went to, they handed out some statistics, FBI statistics about Malden and cities and that kind of thing. And one in particular struck me, and it was the tracking the crimes per day in Malden, and they've actually steadily gone down in the last since 2009. Not tremendously, but the trend is definitely in the right direction. So when you have these kinds of things sort of bunched together, and it seems to be just a coincidence, it looks like, geez, everything is terrible, but it's not quite as bad as the perception could be. So I just think that the other thing I'd say is there were several business owners at this meeting, so everybody does pitch in this town,
which is nice.
Which is
really
good. Yeah,
which has been great.
But that sort of leads into something else. I've now been at the chamber for, it's going to be 4 years in February, and some of the time you say, geez, maybe I ought to think about what I'm doing. And part of this is I've been thinking a lot about sort of stepping back and saying, okay, well, where does the chamber want to go, and where, and I think we all maybe, as part of this whole thing, need to do some thinking on the larger term, some strategic planning. I mean, we're talking about tearing down City Hall. The mayor's office has got a study going, looking at that. We're talking about building a ball field, which is a huge project.
Commercial Street.
We're developing 2 of the lots right off Pleasant Street, Dartmouth and Florence Street, which are now used by a lot of people, customers of merchants here. And we've just done this major reconstruction. This is going to be going on all year. And I don't know, some of the time it's just, I think we need to kind of look at this in the bigger picture. What's our vision? What do we want to end up with, and how can we make these projects all work together toward that vision? And I know there's a visioning project and a master plan, but I just am wondering if maybe we need to sort of take a larger look. And let me, I was thinking about this on the way over here. One of the things, and this is, my bad as the chamber head, but you and several of the businesses on Commercial Street are anchors in this community. You are anchor businesses. You've been here for years. You have paid taxes. I mean, it really is a value of the community to have you here. And I guess, not to put you on the spot, but, I should be asking you, what can make you happy, and what will make sure you stay here in Malden?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think from our perspective, let me see. Obviously, we want great response time when there are issues. If we need to reach out to the police, I mean, there has been over the years. We want to make sure the streets are plowed that enable us to conduct our business when we're in the snow. What else? Sometimes it seems like businesses are overfined for different things for the city or town to make money, and that hurts us when a new tax or a new charge or a new registration form must be paid for incidentals that, if you're balancing a budget from City Hall, that's great, but if you're trying to run a business and trying to balance the company's budget, it's tough. So not to get these like surprise charges, tariffs, taxes, fees, whatever you want to call them. Things like that. I mean, for the business community to be favored by the town. So where the company of choice for the schools, or for being we're a bakery, I hate to see the schools buy a bread that's not manufactured in the city. I mean, if that could be, and I'm just talking even like New England coffee, and think about it,
buy local is the
exactly
big,
buy local, and you look at it too. You talk about tax dollars that we pay. We pay for the water,
Absolutely.
We employ many Maldonians, and we get asked daily for charitable donations for organizations and the schools here in Malden that we, sometimes we have to say, no, because it surpasses our budget, but between monetary and product donations and time.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really, so it's nice if you're valued by the city. And I don't want to be political here, but, when it's funny, because there was some comments floating around, I think they got out of context, but certain, was the Democrats, I guess. It was, I think Obama, I think he even misspoke, and he admitted he misspoke, but Professor Warren overspoke it too after it was said, and said, if you have a successful business, you didn't build it. It was the government that built it, and that's unfortunate to hear that.
Yeah.
But you need the government to work with you and to keep your taxes down, to keep your water down. Just not to say, oh, well, they're a big company, they can afford it. They can. Well, you really can't, because we employ 200 plus employees. Yeah. And we take care of 200 plus families.
Yeah.
And if we have to pay higher taxes or higher water charges, it hurts us a little, and it's not money that we would put in our pocket. It's probably less that we can give to our employees and our people. That's
Yeah, well, and that's something that I really like to think that this administration is really trying to address. But I do feel at times we're always thrilled with the new business that's moving into town, and sometimes I'd like to see us value the guys who've been around through the long fight, and it's great to get new people moving in town, but we really need you guys, and what you're saying is not unreasonable at all, and I think it's important that and maybe this is something that the chamber can do, not to create more meetings and that kind of thing, but just I really am a big believer that some of the time it's just people need to be heard. They sometimes because they talk over each other or
need to feel valued or be stroked. I hate to use that word.
Well,
but,
exactly.
But just to show that you're appreciated, and even what I find, not just in Malden. I'm just saying, if you have a home and you take really good care of it, and your yard you're out there killing yourself, mowing your lawn and planting flowers, and then you're taxed higher than the guy across the street because
because it's nicer,
right?
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate. So I think instead of saying, "Wow, this guy is a credit to our community," let's give him a break. Let's do something nice for him. And I think that's overlooked. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking, and I think maybe the chamber can play a role in reminding people how much value businesses bring to this community.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I drive down Commercial Street and I go, look at this. Yeah. You don't demand a whole lot from. Yes, the streets plowed. That's a pretty reasonable request. You're not demanding a whole lot, but you're giving a huge amount in taxes, and the fact that taxes in Malden are low. Well, guess what? It's for residents. It's because the businesses are stepping up and paying a lot in taxes. So,
but even get special consideration. I mean, there were some things over we wanted to open up a different location on a drive in one of our buildings. There was some opposite. We just dropped the issue. We didn't do it. But I'm just to be more receptive. If you could put the word out to the MRA, to the mayor's office, to the city councilors, to just let businesses, within reason. Of course, you don't want them doing all kinds of stuff. But I found that on a much smaller scale with our shop in Winchester. I think I brought that up to you, that all of a sudden, opened up this little shop in Winchester, and the rules and regs and signage and how big it can be and how small, and a permit not only to have the sign made, but a permit to erect the sign. You had to get a one-day pay money and go before a board just so you can have your sign company get up on a ladder and install your sign. I mean, and there's a fine for that. And it's a fee for that. Yeah. And just to make, to open business, to be more open to businesses. And I think people forget what the chamber does. I mean, and I think you're right on target when you're saying you have your show and you're showcasing some businesses, welcoming new businesses in the town. And even, like you said, then the old businesses, and that's always a great thing about the chamber, that you will give a diamond award or some award to a long-standing business that's been here through the test of time and through the ups and downs of economy and weather and
well, exactly. And you look at, Malden is really fortunate to have the businesses it has. And I think they do a pretty good job, but, we can always improve, and we can always open up the dialogue a little bit. Having worked, I worked in regulation for the federal government for years, and sometimes regulation penalizes the good guy. Exactly. Because, we would inspect passenger ships, and the guy who ran a crappy ship, we'd end up doing 5 visits, and you got to fix this. I'll come back tomorrow. I'll fix. The guy who did it, spent the money and got it done. He only got, how much was the government spending to enforce? Exactly. Not that, but also sometimes they'd wear down inspectors.
Right.
An
Oh, yeah.
inspector would just finally, kind of throw up their hands.
Well,
and
we do
you
that
know.
not with Malden, with
Yeah.
the inspectors in Malden, but I mean, we're scrutinized. We're put on a higher level. When we have the American Institute of Baking that comes in and inspects us, you know, it's amazing. We'll pass
Yeah.
and get a superior rating,
Yeah.
and I'll look at a bakery, you know, in another location and say, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And they'll get the same grade or slightly less
Yeah.
than us,
Yeah.
and the place is
Yeah.
a mess.
Yeah, well.
So I just think, you know, sometimes it's nice to be appreciated, like you
Yeah,
said, valued,
yeah.
and if there's an issue, or even someone to come by
Mm-hmm.
from the chamber, from the, I know you're not the government, but from the, say, hey, you know, let's have a, you know, is there anything we can do to make it,
Yeah.
you know, more
Well,
pleasurable? And you know,
and,
it's funny,
yeah.
they talk about, you know, shipping jobs overseas, but I mean, what about leaving the state? And sometimes
Yeah.
you think, when you get squeezed so much, and geez, you know what, just over the border of New
Yeah.
Hampshire, you know, land is cheaper, it's more vast.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
labor is cheaper, but you don't want people leaving Massachusetts, let alone leaving
Exactly.
Malden, but
Yeah.
even the state. So
And that's has to be just as high, if not a higher priority, than bringing in new business.
Exactly.
Because, you know, you can bring in all the new business. I mean, sadly, and here's just an example, we've had 2 restaurants open up in the last year within about 100 yards of my office, and they both are closing down.
Really?
And so, you know, and there's a lot of reasons, but you can bring in new business, but boy, if you got a tried and true business,
Retain them,
you
yeah.
gotta keep them. And that's,
you know, from a sales perspective, selling product,
yeah.
it's better for us to retain a customer than get a new customer.
Yeah, it's more work to
Exactly.
get the new customer.
Exactly.
Yeah, anyway, so that's I'm glad to hear that, because that's kind of what I was thinking. Geez, you know, the chamber, we're always kind of looking for new members, but I want to make sure we value our existing
Right.
members, because
Oftentimes, the bigger
Yeah.
companies, the longer companies, they're the ones that get hit on the most for these
Yeah.
charitable donations,
yeah.
and you know, and it's funny because you might bend over backwards for some of the newer businesses
Yeah.
on Pleasant Street
Yeah.
and hope they take off, and
Yeah.
it might be another nail salon or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And yet this old business, hey, you know what? You did last year. Will you do it again this year? Will you
Yeah.
sponsor the tree lighting,
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. And
but anyway.
so, yeah.
Well, what else
So-
does the chamber have? Well, I know there's like is there a taste of Malden coming up this year?
We're going
Is
to
that-
do Taste of Malden. I'm actually meeting with my counterpart in Medford, because we moved it to April last year because Medford had already taken March. So
Okay.
I'm going to say it's our turn for March. March is a good time for it. I
Yeah.
think March, we did it in early February before, but it's going to be February, March. It's every year it gets better. Last year we did it also in school vacation, which wasn't good.
Right.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
I was away. I
Yeah,
couldn't-
our turnout, it was a little bit down from the year before, but people still loved it. I mean,
Now, what
it was
about a
great.
$10,000 dinner or anything like that?
The casino night, I mean,
Casino night, whatever.
I'm sorry, the comedy night is in lieu of the
Okay.
$10,000 dinner. For me, that event, if I go to you and ask you to buy a $100 ticket and immediately 50 goes into a pot, I'd rather ask you to put an ad
Right.
in a program that gets you
Yeah.
exposure
Right.
and that kind of thing. And also, I am not sure the chamber should be involved in. I'm not morally opposed to gambling,
Right,
but I
right.
mean, I'm not sure that that's how we should make our money.
Okay.
And
That's-
I think a comedy night, we're getting people together
Yeah.
for some laughs. That's fun.
Anything else this calendar
We've
year,
got,
though? Any
we're
breakfast or
going
lunch?
to have, I'm glad you asked, we've got, at the end of the month, we're doing our Halloween trick or treat.
Oh,
So
businesses.
the businesses we'll have a balloon
Balloon,
outside, and they will have candy for the kids. when
Is
they
it going to
come
be held on
around.
Halloween or a different?
Boy, I gotta look at my you know.
Halloween's
so
on a Wednesday this year.
My daughter got married at the beginning of this month, and I'm
Oh.
still only planning like
Congratulations.
48 hours ahead. So, but I can tell you if
That sounds
we
a great
possibly can, we're going to do it on Halloween,
Okay,
because
which is
it's
a-
much better to do it the day of.
Right.
And so we're gonna
We'll
have some
participate in
information going out on that. And then in December we're gonna have the Remembrance Tree,
Yep.
which is the tree lighting,
In the center
and
street.
and that's each year that has gotten
Oh, it's a
better.
great
I
event.
really enjoy
Yeah.
that event.
It's been fun.
And even when it's been bitterly
Oh, yeah.
cold.
I've been out there,
But,
really.
yeah, it's
It's
you
a
know,
fun
it just
event.
feels
It
good,
feel
and,
good
and
event.
Dunkin' Donuts brings
Yeah,
hot chocolate,
You can't beat it.
which is just right. And I also, they bring munchkins, and I eat too many of those. So
Well, we're going to have more
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
remember the chamber number 781-322-4500. Common Air is the next big event coming up. It sounds like a great event, very reasonably priced, a lot of fun, and a great meal for $25. So definitely plan on that. And you know, feel free to volunteer or call Ted anytime at the chamber office. And
absolutely.
if you want any information or you want to help out in any way, join or get involved or whatever. It's a great organization. Ted does a great job with it. We're lucky to have him here in the city. I'm going to be back on the 10th of October with my guest will be John Carlino from Exchange Street.
Great,
He just
operation.
just
John's a
redid the
good-
place. The place
yeah.
looks great, and I
good.
actually want to have some footage taken, so we're going to showcase that. And as I said, it's you know, we're into the fall now, so happy fall and happy Yom Kippur, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and just get involved with the city and check us out with Comedy Night and a few other things. So,
Right.
anything
Hope-
else?
I hope to see folks at Comedy Night. It's just a great way. It should be a great evening. And I just want to thank everybody who did help out at the farmers market. We have a great community here, and it's just and that's going to continue, and it's going to be even better next year.
Excellent,
So, yeah.
excellent. And
So-
to thank the people that came and bought, but also the people that,
Yeah.
that sold and
Absolutely.
all volunteered. So
Yeah.
it's a community thing.
And I
Oh,
want to thank you for
Oh.
doing this show. You
Well-
always know more about the chamber than I do, and it's always easy to
well,
do
it'll
this
be
show.
fine.
with
Just give me the dates once we know about trick or treating
Yeah,
and
I will.
the tree lighting and all that. We'll announce that. And your show coming up Friday night.
you.
So.
Absolutely. So
Well, watch out for that, which
Yeah.
sounds good. So thank
Yeah.
you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, Malden. Thank
Hey, you, get out of the dock and into the zone.